We're out here in Joshua Tree shooting elopement, all on anamorphic lenses. Gonna find a spot pretty quickly and then have some fun playing with sunset. This light is amazing. Check this out. So what is anamorphic? Anamorphic shooting comes down to the lenses that you're going to be using. So a lot of the time we're using spherical lenses that are circular, but then you have anamorphic lenses like this. This is going to be more of a vertical look. You can see everything's distorted that way. And what happens is it records the image and stretches it. So you have a stretched image. But the goal is that whenever you bring it into your editing software, you can de-squeeze it and stretch it back out so you have a wider field of view. Our setup that we decided to go with is we have the GH5. So since it has anamorphic capabilities of shooting, we can shoot on the sensor on a 4x3 mode. So instead of shooting 16:9 like most of our films, we can now shoot on a 4x3, so we get more of the sensor being filled with the image, and then we can just stretch it out. So we're shooting on the GH5, and then we rented a micro 4/3 to a PL mount, so we can use cine lenses. And in this case, the anamorphic lenses are PL mount. And then we rented a set of Kowa anamorphics, which is a 40mm, a 50mm, and a 75mm lens set. We also put it in this cage. This is a small rig cage, if you want to come check this out. This has also a handle. With the 75, it's a little bit wider or longer, so we need to have a mount on this, so we put some rails on here so that we can still focus it. So with the f-stop is also declicked, so it's really smooth whenever you're changing that. And we also wanted to put on the small HD. This is the small HD 502 monitor, so that we could have a 1080p screen with a really good bright screen since we're shooting outside. And we also just added this little bitty piece on the back just so that we could push it up against our chest and we can kind of get a 3-point contact if we're going handheld. Now, this couple are also wedding filmmakers. You can check them out. They go by Films by Juniper. They wanted to give us creative freedom to do whatever we wanted with their elopement and kind of film it whatever way we wanted to. They said if we wanted to shoot it on Super 8 cameras, we could shoot it on Super 8 cameras. But we wanted to try something different, and since we had the GH5, we asked them if it'd be cool to shoot their elopement using anamorphic lenses, and they were ecstatic, to say the least. So now we're gonna head out to the Airbnb where the couple is, and we're gonna start filming their elopement all on anamorphic lenses. We are using, this is the 75 Kowa Prominar anamorphic lens. The reason why people probably don't shoot anamorphics that much whenever they're filming weddings is because of price and weight. So anamorphic lenses, if you're getting a really nice set, for instance this lens is $20,000. And this is a little $2,000 camera. So in this case, you're gonna wanna rent it. Also, most lenses are really heavy and really big. The Kowa are the most lightweight anamorphic lenses that you can really get for the 2X feature, because we wanted more of that effect from anamorphic. So with anamorphic lenses, what's really interesting is not just the horizontal, J.J. Abrams flares that you kind of recognize right off the bat, but there's a lot more texture and characteristics of the lenses that are really cool. So this is a lens that I think is closer to around the 1970s. So there's a lot of characteristics. The flares are really beautiful and really, obviously they're gorgeous, but what's interesting is if I'm shooting on a 50mm, I'm gonna get a 50mm, perspective, but I'm gonna get a wide perspective of a 25mm. So you get the depth and the perception of a 50, but you get the field of view of half that, which is 25. So that's what's really interesting about anamorphic. Also, since we're shooting with a 2X lens, it's even more of a stretch. So that means the bokeh is gonna have more intense, like vertical or oval shaped bokeh. or like a waterfall effect. So that's the characteristics that we wanted. So that's why we chose the 2X lenses. We are really excited to shoot this elopement with this couple on the anamorphic lenses. Because we're shooting on anamorphic lenses, I want to view it really well. That's why we're filming with the small HD monitors. This one's the 502. We're out here in Joshua Tree and it's really bright. The sun's beaming down, so it's really harsh, and I wanted something that I can see the screen really well. Also, I wanted a 1080p resolution because it's really difficult to focus on anamorphic lenses.
She's gonna be in her room. We're just gonna say 1, 2, 3, and they're gonna come out and meet here.
This works. I've never held one.
So basically, this is where the batteries are.
So around 60 to 80 is like where we have to shoot, but we get a wider playing field. So that's awesome. Let's see. The problem is you have to dual focus. So if this is set to 6.5 feet, this has a lock on it. Okay. So we can turn that to 6 feet. There you go. Here.
Oh, what? That's awesome.
Look at me in front of the chandelier. It's like a chandelier, but it's a fan. You guys got it? Got my joke? Okay, let's go film it.
So I'm gonna go over the settings that we're using on the GH5 to shoot this elopement. We are shooting everything at 4K, 60 frames per second. For the picture profile, we were gonna shoot vlog, but we were having some issues with some mixed lighting and just some artifacting and stuff around the skin tone color, and we just didn't like it that much, so we switched back to our natural profile that we use. You can check our link in another video that we shot and showcased how we use that profile and what the settings are of that profile if you want to know more information on our natural profile. Let's see, the other settings that we have is we decided to shoot, instead of our shutter speed, we decided to do the shutter angle. So we were keeping everything at 180 degrees. So any kind of motion or movement will feel very natural. So that is forcing us to use only ND filters, variable ND filters, and the f-stop to adjust for the brightness and exposure, obviously, as well as the ISO, but we're not going to be changing our angle, and we're going to try to keep it exactly at the proper motion blur so that everything is smooth and natural. HDMI record output. This is where we handle all of our HDMI info going to the screen. So we're going to keep it on for the info display so that it sends to the screen. If we turn it off, you can see that we don't have anything showing and it's just the window. But if we want to send some of the info, we'll send it on. However, you can see it's cropped because we had to enable the crop feature on the small HD to see the screen all the way. So that's just something to consider. If we were to use Vlog, we would just turn off the LUT HDMI display off so that it doesn't send the Vlog conversion LUT to the screen, and we'll control it from here. And then our stabilizer, we went ahead and set, we have a quick key, so we'll have right here this little button, and that's what we use to turn on our stabilization. And we turn it on, we went ahead and set our display focal lengths to the 4 lenses that we have, 40, 50, and 75. So if we switch lenses, we can easily just choose which lens. This is the 50, so I'm gonna choose 50 and then set it. And then I can turn it off and turn it on by just clicking that button. Now if it's on, it looks really good. We really like the way it looks. And if I want to keep it locked, I'm gonna go ahead and choose F1, which is the IS video lock. And you can see here, it keeps it pretty stable. So we're not gonna try to use it that much though, because it shows even more on anamorphic, and we're just gonna keep it natural. So we're using an SLR Magic variable ND filter. I think it goes all the way up to about 6 stops. We're shooting on, so this is the 50mm Kowa anamorphic lens, and it goes all the way down to 2.3, but it's really soft, so we're sticking right around f4. Feels like a really good spot whenever we're shooting this to have everything in focus. If we want a little bit more of an extreme, you know, bokeh effect, then we might stop down and just know that it will be a little bit soft, but that's just a different preference. So we kept this small rig cage a little bit more stripped down without the handle so that we can put it on the Ronin super quick. Just took off the small HD and the microphone, and I have it weighted. So I needed some extra weight, and we were last minute. I didn't know what the weight of the lenses exactly were. So I just went to Home Depot or Ace Hardware and just got these little bitty weight mounts and just kind of added some more counterweight so that it would actually balance. So I know it looks ghetto rigged, but it works, so that's all that matters. So I actually had to change the motors for this to be a little bit more quick. So I adjusted the speed so that it would return quicker because of the weight's a lot more. So, but now we can shoot anamorphic on a gimbal. We're walking with the couple. We're about to look for a spot for the ceremony. Go all the way up and down her room, all the way.
Oh my God, no.
So we just got back to the house. We are gonna be heading outside with the couple. They picked up some really cool vintage flashlights. So they're gonna kind of trek through some of the rocks and some of the areas out here in Joshua Tree and kind of find a spot that they can have a first dance. So it's gonna be really cool. We'll also get a little bit of those J.J. Abrams flares. So I think that it will match really well, match the couple, and it'll end off the day really cool. So we're gonna give this a try. Hey.